So let's start by talking about your WWE debut. You get into the company.
We're getting right into it.
We're getting right in.
Right into it.
We're going right in. How does it come about? How do you end up getting the job in WWE? Because there wasn't a lot of people like you at that point in WWE.
Midgets.
I'm not saying that word.
I'll give him the card. I give everyone the card. You can say it. It's fine. With a midget card, it's fine.
But there wasn't a lot of that going on at that point.
Hugely jacked humans.
Attractive, handsome men.
So I always say, man, like, I didn't do anything or get anywhere because of my skill. like my skill had nothing to do with my success. Mr. Ken Anderson trained me in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and when I went straight from backyard wrestling to getting trained. And it wasn't even like formal training. It was like, hey, we have a show. Let's bump around for an hour or two before the show while you put up the ring. And that I'm never formally trained. I was never formally trained, but he trained me. He was a big part of my training, along with Shane Hills, a local Green Bay guy. And so they were looking for a person like me to be a leprechaun for Finley. And they had a couple tryouts and they weren't working out. And Ken put his name out there for me. I said, I got the guy. Great mind, like a good head on his shoulders, can take a bump, just a good kid. They made the call to me to give me a tryout, and I ignored the phone calls because it was a restricted line.
Right.
I was like, oh, it's a bill collector. I'm not paying you. I had a tryout, and it went horribly because they asked me to do an Irish accent. Dylan Postel doesn't do accents. And it was...
Do you have the Irish accent?
Not a chance.
It's worth asking.
There is not a chance. I was literally just thinking now, like, I tried doing it. I remember leaving the pre-tape area with Fit and going, that went okay. He goes, and I was like, oh, it did not go good. And then because at that point I'm a 19-year-old kid,
mm-hmm.
I was going on backstage taking photos with everyone because I was like, I'm never going to be here anyways. I'm never going to be back. I'm going to take photos with Rey Mysterio and Angle and all. I got so many photos that day backstage. It was the best. And then 2 weeks later, restricted numbers came up on my phone, and I did not answer them because I did not want to pay my credit card bills because I was a broke 19-year-old. And one of the messages was from Tommy Dreamer going, Dylan, we're trying to pay you a lot of money. We're trying to give you a contract. Please return my call. We want to hire you for WWE. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll call this. And sure as it was Dreamer, who was in talent relations at the time. And they hired me, man. And it was like, I left. I've flown at that point. I've flown twice in my life. And it was off to the races. Literally like, hey, we're going to debut you at Judgment Day that year. Then I was like, okay, great. Oh, no, we're going to hold it off. We're going to debut the TV after. I was like, okay, great. And it was literally like, man, thinking about it now, it was so zero to hero and so like, just, I was a child. I was literally a child. I knew nothing about the outside world. I was a small town Wisconsin kid that knew nothing about anything when it came to traveling or mainstream or WWE life. And then a month later, they're like, hey, you're going to go to the Philippines. And I'm going, where the is the Philippines? I was a dumb kid. I didn't know where the Philippines was. You could point on my map. I still probably couldn't find it. And it was just like off to the races. I'm so just lucky that I got tossed into that spot.
But so you're there when you're there at the tryout, you're getting all these photos with everybody, and then you go back. Do you remember the first time going there as talent now? And did anybody remember you from being
from 2 weeks before? Yes, they did. They literally, I remember Paul London going, weren't you the one getting photos a couple of weeks ago? I go, yeah, I didn't think I would be back here. So it was always a fun thing. And then the security guard, Jimmy Tillis at the time, was like, he kicked me out of the arena my tryout day because I was taking photos, and it was time to go. And then I show up 2 weeks later, and he goes, what are you doing here? I go, I work here now. And he's just like, oh God, here we go. So we always laughed about that.
And obviously, like, you know, your relationship with Vince as an on-screen character will come up a lot.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, is there an interaction with
Yeah, so
backstage?
I talk about it in the book. Life is short, and so am I. Available on Amazon.com.
You'll put that down there.
I did an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and every time I did the ad break, it was like it was a swoop with an ad. When I watched it back, it was so funny. But I talk about it in there. My first day, we were gonna rehearse the initial piece of me coming out from under the ring with the light. Because the thing was, like, we wanted to make a production of there being a green light, and when the SmackDown had the silver ring skirts, so you could see the green light. It's just like a really, really cool presentation. So the green light would come on. Vince is telling me, all right, you're gonna be under the ring. That's where you're gonna live. That's where you're gonna. That's your house, your home. You're just a creature. I go, great, awesome. And he goes, the green light's gonna come on. You're gonna wait. Finley's gonna lift it up, and then you're gonna come out. And I go, awesome. I get under there, rehearsal wise. Green light comes on. I come out. No, God damn it, not yet. Oh, second rehearsal. Fit comes out. No green light. Lifts up the apron. Where are you? I go. I come out. He goes, where were you? I go, there was no light. God damn it. I'm literally in my mind thinking, I've had 2 rehearsals. I'm going to get fired before I debut. It's going to happen. It's going to be done. Third one, the green light. Finley lifts. I come out. We're off, and we're golden. It was just one of those things like, oh, we made it. It finally happened. And then, man, seeing the debut, it's like still one of those things that I remember to this day of like my dad getting home, and my dad, who's always been the biggest supporter of me and you know, and happy for me and my legit hero, him and my grandpa both calling me and being like, hey, this happened. Should have never happened. Like, it shouldn't have. Again, I you guys are going to realize I have 0 self-confidence, and I should have never made it. In reality, this isn't my world. I'm not 6 foot. I'm not 250 pounds, thank God. So it's one of those things where I shouldn't have made it in this world. And so whenever things happen and whenever things did go well, it's always one of those things I step back and go, now, at that time I didn't, because I was a young, dumb kid living the rock star life. Now with my son who brings things up, and I'm now finally starting to realize, hey, you did do some pretty cool things. As I'm 38 years old, it's finally hit me. But yeah, it's just it's a really, really cool. It's just cool to look back on, and shouldn't have happened, but I'm glad it did.
Do you think that the lack of self-confidence was a hindrance, or do you think in some ways it was a help because you weren't able to get cocky with all the stuff that was happening?
So the lack of self-confidence was always as a kid. I was the first. I never got bullied in school because I was the first one to make fun of myself. Like, if you don't give a bully the upset reaction and you bully yourself, now they look like the dickhead, and now they're just being a jerk, rather than them like getting a laugh. If I make the laugh about me, it kind of shoos them away. The lack of self-confidence has always been like, just because of growing up. I was never picked first in basketball or baseball or that kind of thing. I didn't want to be a midget wrestler. The first day of training, I said, I'm not going to be a midget wrestler. I'm not going to train to bite an ass or do the stupid ref spot. Now at 38 years old, I'm biting asses and I'm doing the ref spots. But I wanted to be a cruiserweight. Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio and X-Pac, those were my heroes growing up. At that point, when I started training, Amazing Red, still a legit wrestling hero of mine, where it's like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a small cruiserweight, not a midget wrestler. And lack of confidence was always just like, because this isn't my world, I shouldn't make it here. Just always that. And then like, I always say I'm a therapist's dream and nightmare, because I have a very negative outlook on life, where I like to think negatively about things and then be surprised when positive things happen, rather than think something's going to happen and then it doesn't, and then you're bummed out. Very horrible way to live life. I've realized I've come to terms it's not the way someone should live. but it still works for me. And that's like, I kind of blame WWE for it, but I shouldn't. Of like, you see it on, you hear about it in interviews, you hear it, and you see it on like these documentaries. The 24 series is where stuff just gets canceled last minute. And that's happened to me, where I'm in Gorilla and then stuff just gets canceled, or I'm in the storyline and then day of gets rewritten and canceled. The anonymous GM thing, like all of that, it was supposed to be something and it got changed day of. And it was like, so WWE almost at times taught me, don't get excited about something until it is happening. And then not only that, until it airs on television, don't get excited for it because they can cut it off the show too.